Good evening.
Go ahead.
I'm Xavier Delatorre. I'm the Superintendent of Schools in the Ysleta Independent School District, and I appreciate all of you joining us this evening. It's important for us to communicate anytime that we make a major decision relative to operating the school district. Before we get started, let me thank you all for just demonstrating amazing resilience and patience as we've worked through the last 6.5, 7 months during this pandemic. We appreciate the support that we've received, but there is a silver lining, and this evening, what I'd like to share with you and your community are some plans that we have moving forward that will ultimately result in a brand new, beautiful, state-of-the-art, modern Hanks Middle School. Having said that, let me introduce you to Mrs. Linda Leeper, our Chief Finance and Operational Officer, who's going to walk you through what you can anticipate the remainder of this fall and into the spring.
Good evening. Thank you too so much for being here. We appreciate you sparing your time and joining us for this presentation. I'm going to actually share my screen and we'll walk through a very brief presentation this evening, and then we will move to a panel of experts who can help us answer any questions you may have. And there you go. I believe you can see my presentation, and you just met Dr. De La Torre, our outstanding superintendent. We think he's the best in the state, maybe in the nation. As he mentioned, my name is Lindley Leeper, and I do have a panel with me this evening. They have tremendous wisdom, and they have worked diligently behind the scenes to provide you with the opportunity that we're going to talk about this evening. So briefly, I'm going to go over the construction plan and then the schedule, along with the transition plan that affects students and teachers. And then we'll talk a little bit more about how that impacts our Ysleta ISD family. So you may recall that in November 2019, the bond program passed, and you, the voters of the Ysleta community, voted in favor of a brand new Hanks Middle School. We started design charrettes immediately thereafter, and together we walked through what we expected and what we desired for our new Hanks Middle School. Then along came COVID-19, and in March, our world was disrupted. Not only did we not get to see our babies face to face for nearly 9 months, but we're still waiting desperately to see them face to face on October 19th. COVID-19 presented not only those challenges, but it also locked down manufacturing. And as a result, concrete and structural steel have become more expensive. So along with that challenge, our contractor has presented us with an opportunity. And what they would like, in order to both save money for those overruns in construction materials and also to continue to deliver the site to us, or the new campus to us, in August of 2022, they have recommended that we turn the site over to them on October 12th for demolition. Now, what does that mean? Well, for the Desert View and Indian Ridge student bodies, they will continue to operate just like they are this year. They will be 2 individual campuses, but they will both be housed at the Desert View site. And that will continue from now until when the brand new Hanks Middle School is delivered. Both Desert View and Indian Ridge have different bell schedules, different class periods, and they will remain that way for the remainder of the year. So the schedules the students started out with, those will continue. We will not be changing them as a result of the move. However, the Indian Ridge building will not reopen for the rest of this school year, and in fact, it will not ever reopen after this. The 7th and 8th grade Indian Ridge teachers will be moved to Marion Manor, and they will continue to teach Indian Ridge Middle School students remotely from that location. Indian Ridge 6th grade students and their teachers will be moved to Desert View Middle School because Desert View doesn't currently house 6th grade students. So we'll move them, if you will, as a pod together, and those students who opt for face-to-face instruction will receive it from their Indian Ridge students at the Desert View site, and those that opt for remote learning will continue to receive that with their peers from their Indian Ridge students. Indian Ridge teachers. The Indian Ridge special education units and the elective teachers will also go to Desert View, and there's plenty of room there for them. In fact, Desert View could hold the combined populations of both campuses if everyone returned right now for face-to-face instruction. The one hiccup or the one odd change about how we're going to organize this is if an Indian Ridge parent in the survey that's coming out soon opts for their 7th or 8th grade child to receive face-to-face instruction on campus, that student is going to need to transfer from Indian Ridge to Desert View Middle School. And of course, we'll facilitate the transfer since it's necessary by our decisions. Otherwise, no Indian Ridge students are going to experience any schedule changes, only those who may opt to become a student at Desert View for face-to-face instruction. And keep in mind, parents can opt to continue remote instruction for the entire year without penalty to their child. They get the choice to, they're resurveyed every 9 weeks, and they get the choice to change every 9 weeks if that's what becomes the best interest for their student. So how does that affect Desert View teachers and students? Well, Desert View teachers are going to report on October 5th. They will continue teaching their students beginning October 19th face-to-face, as well as any remote students and any of those students who may opt to transfer into Desert View to receive face-to-face instruction. Otherwise, no Desert View student schedules are going to be changed either. They'll all remain the same as they are today. So here's the timeline. It's an aggressive timeline, but we're actually excited about it. So tomorrow you're going to receive a letter from the district along with a copy of this presentation and a census link where we're asking you to go in and tell us your choice for learning going forward. As I mentioned, you have the option all year long to remain online. You will also have what we call the hybrid option, where your child can attend for face-to-face Monday through Thursday and opt to stay at home on Friday. Or if it's best for your family, your student can be in school every day, Monday through Friday. That census, again, will open tomorrow, and we desperately need your responses by September 21st because it helps us determine how much space and how we arrange desks and set up classrooms for those students who are returning face-to-face on October 19th. Now, in between then, we'll have intercession when most of the schools will not be open broadly, but they will be conducting intercession for those students who need that special attention. The site will also be turned over to the contractor for demolition starting October 12th. And then October 19th is the day we're all waiting for when we actually get to see our students again face-to-face. And that will begin at Desert View for any of those students opting for face-to-face instruction. Now, as I mentioned earlier, our students at Desert View and Indian Ridge will continue to operate as those two individual campuses through this year. But effective August 21, while they're still at the Desert View site, they will become the Hanks Middle School. And then in August 2022, everyone moves into the beautiful new Hanks Middle School campus. And with that, I am going to stop sharing my presentation, and we're going to bring up a panel of guests who will be prepared to answer any questions you may have. And I'll just introduce them as they come up because they are amazing leaders. So this is Ms. Bobby Russell Garcia. She's our Chief Human Capital Management Officer. I think that's right. It's a long title. And then I believe we have Dr. Catherine Kennedy, who is the Associate Superintendent for Middle Schools. We have Associate Superintendent Jessica Macias, who is also standing by to help us answer questions. There she is. And I know Dr. Kennedy will be up in just a moment. And I think that's the group that's going to be here this evening. We're going to field those questions as they come up. I'm looking to the comment section. We did provide you with an email address where you can reach out if you have a private question and you don't want to share it here. We've made that available to you. It's at askthedistrict@yisd.net. And so here's some feedback. I'm going to mute. There's Dr. Kennedy. I'm going to mute my microphone and let's kind of scroll through these questions. I think they may have been answering in the background while the presentation was up. I don't know about y'all, but that hurts my ears. So the first question I see, Dr. Kennedy, is probably one that you can handle. It's how will teachers teach online and in person at the same time? We knew that one was coming.
Yes, absolutely. We know that's going to be a challenge, but we will be working with the teachers and providing them that professional development to help them monitor, to help them and guide them through both remote and face-to-face instruction at the same time. They've been working so hard right now remotely, and now we're just going to transition and doing the same type of instruction, but along with the face-to-face learners. We will be providing them that training to make it happen.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. So Ms. Macias, you want to take that next one? I think you may
Question is, so if my child is doing face-to-face, do I need to change her to Desert View Middle School? And yes, ma'am, you do need to transfer your student from Indian Ridge to Desert View so that we can accommodate her for face-to-face. We also will be sending out a modality survey, a census that will ask you what type of instruction you would like for your child to participate in for the upcoming 9 weeks, whether that's face-to-face or continue remote instruction. And once you choose face-to-face, if you're an Indian Ridge parent, yes, you would need to transfer your child to Desert View.
So I see a lot of questions about sports. Let me try to address those all at once. This is why this modality census and some of this information from you is critical to us. Right now, we're prepared behind the scenes with a safety plan and an athletics schedule. So we're anxious to have those students back participating in athletics. I believe that's on the campus websites in terms of when they would begin. Right now, I think we have a limited number of students who want to play football. So there is a possibility if we're going to field a team, we may need to combine those students for the athletics portion. But we will be following up with you as we move forward to make sure that you stay fully informed, especially as it relates to the fall sports, football, volleyball, all those things. Basketball's right around the corner. We know it's important and we want to make sure it's available. So that's not off the table. It's certainly going to be provided for those students, provided we have enough to make teams. I did see one other question about, so how do I opt out at 9 weeks, or how do I do a transfer? Dr. Kennedy or Ms. Macias, do either one of you want to take that?
Sure. Absolutely. So every 9 weeks, we will be sending out that census, the modality census, so that parents have the option of changing, either going face-to-face, hybrid, or remote. And so it's every 9 weeks. The first survey that we're going to send out will start tomorrow, and that will be for October the 19th until December the 18th. After that, we will, again, provide the census to fill out, and if you would like to change your mind in terms of the learning modality, you have that opportunity to do so.
So I also see a question about transportation. And yes, transportation will be provided for students who are attending in the Indian Ridge community that need to get to Desert View if they live beyond the radius. So we'll make that happen. No one's going to be left behind or stuck with the burden of getting to school. With regard to those students who opt for remote instruction, but who want to participate in athletics, the burden will be on the parent to transport those students. We won't be picking them up midday after remote learning to get them to athletics. That will be your responsibility. And yes, athletes who opt to learn remotely can still participate in athletics. And Ms. Garza, you've asked a question about what happens with the special education students. Can you be more specific, or would you like to reach out to us via Ask the District? Okay, we'll wait to see. I'm going to have to go back to the top because a bunch more popped up that I've missed. Feel free to chime in, ladies, if I miss one. Let's see. So I think we've talked about athletics. We talked about transportation related to athletics. Dance and cheerleading, if those are provided now, we're going to be working with the campuses to ensure the opportunities are still available, provided enough students are participating. There won't be a different uniform this year, but when we get to the point where we become Hanks Middle School, yes, absolutely. I think y'all have already chosen your mascot, your name. Is that right, Dr. Kennedy? Yes? Let's see.
Ms. Leeper, I believe there's a question regarding 6th grade and their electives. We are also, our Indian Ridge 6th grade students will be at Desert View Middle, and also our elective teachers from Indian Ridge Middle will be at Desert View Middle, so that they can continue to provide the classes that our students are currently taking.
Mrs. Leeper, there's also a question about what is going to happen with the dance team and cheerleading group from the 2 separate campuses.
So Ms. Macias or Dr. K, I think I briefly touched on it, but you probably have a more thorough answer.
Yes, ma'am. We're going to do our best to continue with both schools having and participating in the dance team and cheerleading as well.
Beautiful, thank you. With regard to sports practices at Desert View or Indian Ridge, nothing will be taking place at Indian Ridge except demolition and construction. That site will be vacated, completely fenced off and inaccessible to anyone but the contractor. That's part of their opportunity to find cost savings and still deliver the project within the time frame that we've specified.
Also, a question about can their child learn virtually and still participate in football?
Yes, absolutely. So if your child is at home for remote learning, but you have an elective or an extracurricular activity, they are still allowed to participate, but you're responsible for transportation.
Next one has to do with band and orchestra and our 6th grade students.
They will continue in those classes. We are having a band, all the fine arts, everything that they're currently receiving, it will follow them when we move to Desert View on October the 19th.
One person got here just a little bit late and want to know when this takes effect.
So it's actually underway. We are in the background. As I mentioned, those two ladies at the top of your screen, Ms. Macias and Dr. Kennedy, have worked relentlessly to put together a phenomenal plan for you. And then there are lots of moving pieces in the background, boxes being delivered, teachers already starting to pack. We will move teachers, and they will actually, when they return to campus or when they return for work, they will come in on October 5th. The Indian Ridge teachers will be at Marion Manor. Desert View teachers will be at Desert View. Students don't return until October 19th if they elect face-to-face instruction. So it's effective now, if you will. But when students come back, it's just the October 19th date when they would report for face-to-face instruction as originally planned.
One parent is asking if you can provide some of the information in Spanish because they are not able to understand what is actually going to happen.
Well, I can't, but I know wonderful people who can. And if there's a specific question they want to ask in Spanish, I bet one of our ladies that's much more fluent or fluent can do it, and not me.
And we will also send out a letter tomorrow that will contain all the information that we presented tonight, along with the link to the modality census.
There is a question from Ms. Garza asking about the special education program, if it will merge. It will continue to be two separate entities. So the special education units that were at Indian Ridge will just now be housed at Desert View. And of course, the students that are in the special education program that are receiving co-teaching services will still continue to receive those services. Those services virtually with their special education teacher and of course the aides that they participate with as well. So we're not merging for this school year. Again, when we move into Hanks Middle for next year, we'll work on that. But for now, it's two separate entities.
No. So with regard to 6th grade, Desert View doesn't have 6th grade students. So 6th grade students will be housed, Indian Ridge 6th graders will just go to school at the Desert View campus, but they won't have to transfer and become Desert View students to get face-to-face instruction. Does that make sense?
There is a question about practices, sports practices at Desert View or at Indian Ridge. And as Ms. Leeper mentioned, Indian Ridge will no longer be utilized. So all the sports practices will be at Desert View Middle School.
The last question asks if there's something they need to discuss with administration, which number are they going to contact if the child is at Indian Ridge?
Perfect question. So Indian Ridge administration will continue to operate. So Ms. Muella is your principal, and she will continue to be your principal, and the secretary and the counselor and all of those folks will continue to serve you all year long, and they'll have the same telephone numbers. They'll just be hidden away at Marion Manor.
There is a question about if my son would like to change an elective, can he still do that? Yes, please contact your school administrator to let them know and see what procedures need to be in place to change the schedule.
I see a question about I missed what happens to 8th grade. I'm going to take a guess that you're asking about an Indian Ridge 8th grader who is going to be housed at Desert View if they opt for face-to-face instruction. So if your child is going to elect face-to-face instruction, they are currently an Indian Ridge 8th grader or 7th grader, they must transfer and become a student at Desert View effective before October 19th when they return for face-to-face instruction. If they are going to continue remotely all year long, or at least for the next 9 weeks, they will have their same teacher that they have today from Indian Ridge remotely. Did I get it, Dr. K? Okay. I believe this is being recorded and will be available on YouTube.
One of the questions that came up is if her child goes to Desert View, will they miss any instruction by switching over to Indian Ridge Middle School?
Dr. K?
So the beauty to this is our teachers from Desert View Middle and Indian Ridge Middle have been planning together and collaborating together. Even we started back in March and we've continued that process till now. So what the lessons that we are receiving or implementing at Desert View, same lessons that we will also receive at Indian Ridge. So there's a strong alignment between both campuses. So will they be missing anything? No, ma'am. It's very seamless, and the teachers have done a phenomenal job collaborating with one another.
Several comments of the same nature as if this video will be available later for parent reference.
So it's my understanding it's being recorded and it will be on YouTube, I think attached to the Isleta ISD channel, YouTube channel. So you should be able to find it there, but there's a chance we may be able to include the link in the letter so you can go back and review it that way. Same teachers if they continue online learning. 6th graders face-to-face will be at Desert View Middle. I think I'm caught up. Nope, there's a new one. So can one of you talk a little bit more about the transfer process and what those students will need to do?
So as soon as we get the results from the modality census, we will be reaching out to the parents who have opted to have their child receive face-to-face instruction. We will walk you through the process and take care of most of the legwork because we want to make sure that we deliver that excellent customer service. So we will be reaching out to you as soon as we get the results back from the survey.
And you know, Ms. Gasper
You
asked
have
a great question.
confirmation that it is available on YouTube.
Perfect, thank you. And so, Ms. Gasper, you asked a great question. I have twin birds, and one of them would have thrived at home, and one would have been a disaster. She absolutely needed to be in school. And so this census that I think you're going to take is related to your student's ID number. So you will have to complete the census separately once for each child, and they will have to help you log in. But then we're able to distinguish in the background system exactly which child you're responding for. And if you want face-to-face for both, we'll know which grade. If you want one to be at home, all of you will have the same thing. You have to respond for that student ID so that we can distinguish exactly which student you're opting in or opting out for, whatever it may be. Anything else, Dr. K? Nope. Okay.
Again, still a number of questions about students staying with the same teacher if they remain in online learning. And yes, of course, if they are in Indian Ridge students, all their teachers will remain providing online learning for the remainder of the school year. However, when they do transfer, if they transfer to Desert View, pending availability and social distancing that we have to accommodate for, there may be some schedule changes, but that's in face-to-face instruction. But virtual instruction, you should have the same teacher for the remainder of the school year.
Do they have to physically be present at Desert View to accomplish the transfer? I think that can probably be done remotely, yes?
We can do it. Yes, ma'am.
Does it take a call to the Desert View or to Indian Ridge administration to accomplish the transfer to start it?
Both campuses will be working together. Once we get all the information, we'll have both campuses working together to make sure that that process is done.
Perfect. Ladies, I don't see any more questions. I think you have answered them all. Anyone else? We'll stay as long as you want us to. They haven't said, let's see. Cheerleading this year in Desert View, is there going to be cheer? Is there cheer today for Desert View? Have you received any communication? Was it an elective? Is it always extracurricular? Ladies, can you chime in?
If it's currently being offered right now, it will continue.
I think that was the concern, is that they haven't heard anything about starting the cheer team at Desert View, and they're wondering if there will be some form of tryout for cheerleading.
So we will find out that information for you. Thank you.
So if you opt for face-to-face instruction at Desert View, when would they have their schedules?
We will have everything ready before October the 19th. So we're looking at that Friday before we start face-to-face instruction.
Ms. Lori, it will be, you'll work with administration at the end of the next 9-week period to accomplish a transfer to Desert View. Ms. Gonzalez, yes, I mean, we welcome them back physically, but we do ask that you respect the 9-week choice, because we make assignments and we design classrooms and we set up all of our safety protocols, and we have to make adjustments if the population changes on us suddenly. So we ask you to make that decision and commit to it for a full 9-week grading period.
Another question is, if they do not want to go to Desert View, do they have the option to transfer to another Isleta campus?
So we are an open enrollment district. So if we've got space available at the campuses, absolutely, when we can help facilitate that transfer as well.
Also, a similar question from earlier, if the schools are merging, will the sports merge as well?
Eventually.
That's going to depend on the sports. We're working right now with both campuses to see which sports we will be able to merge together. We will definitely keep everybody informed on that process.
So I'm not sure, let's see if it's Ms. or Mr. Villa. You ask, why is this necessary? So at the beginning of the presentation, I talked a little bit about COVID-19 impacts across the board. We've seen manufacturing shut down, and so the cost of construction materials has increased. The contractor, in order to mitigate some of those construction materials increases, has suggested that we turn the site over to them earlier, allowing them to demolish and begin construction earlier, because time is money. And so that's why we're moving in this direction. We had originally intended for the campuses to both remain active the entire time, but as you can imagine, right now we have limited students returning to campus, and it doesn't make fiscal sense to keep both campuses open with less than 40% at the campuses. So those are largely the reasons why we opted for that. Now let me see. So I think we talked about, I answered it with, why are you combining now during COVID? We can't wait till next year. Construction would have started January anyway, so it was always going to happen at some point or another. Goodness. Okay, so we got a bunch up here. Are the elective teachers teaching face-to-face and remotely, specifically 7th grade non-native Spanish? Yes. Is that fair, ladies? Yes, our teachers will be present on campus, whether they're at Marion Manor or at Desert View. They will have students on October 19th who are present in the classroom, and they will have students on a computer that are continuing to participate remotely. And that teacher will teach both groups. I think our student to teacher ratio continues to be the same with regard to how many students online and face-to-face will the 6th grade teacher have. We won't exceed our student teacher ratio. Whatever it is now, it will continue to be. If you go face-to-face, do we get to have different teachers? Yes. If you are an Indian Ridge student and you opt for face-to-face instruction and you are in the 7th or 8th grade, you will have to transfer to Desert View, and you will have different teachers, different schedule, different electives, most likely. I've already got those, so let's see. If Okay, goodness, my screen changed on me. So sorry. Let me back up a little. Will they offer orchestra at Desert View? If it's currently offered, it will continue to be offered. Sports is always for 7th and 8th grade. 6th grades don't have it. Yes, they can wear their Indian Ridge shirts. We will not penalize students for a change on our part. Availability of pre-AP and advanced classes for Indian Ridge students moving face-to-face at Desert View.
So yes, they would have to contact the campus directly so that they can get a listing of all the courses that are currently being offered at Desert View, and the parents can make a more informed decision.
So would the students have the same teacher? I need more details to know what you're talking about. If they change from Indian Ridge to Desert View, no, they obviously won't have the same teachers. If we're talking about, do students from Indian Ridge who remain online, or 6th graders who come for face-to-face or online instruction, they'll have the same teachers. Those won't change for them. Once every student returns, how will we accommodate all the students? As I mentioned before, if 100% of our students returned, they would be at the occupancy of Desert View. Right now we have the surveys that we have done in the past within the last couple of months have indicated 50% of students are opting to return for face-to-face instruction. So Desert View would at best be 50% occupied. If that changes, and we'd love for it to change because we want your babies and your students back in school, then we will accommodate and make the necessary arrangements. If we opt for face-to-face 6th grade, can we change electives? I think Ms. Macias spoke to this a little earlier. You would have to work with administration for a schedule change. Okay, how will the classes be face-to-face? Through the computer or with a teacher in a classroom? So students who are returning will be face-to-face with the teacher in the classroom. The teacher is going to return to the campus on October 5th to begin teaching even remote lessons from their classroom. On October 19th, if your students opt for face-to-face instruction, they will be on campus with the teacher in a classroom. But those students who are remaining online will just be connecting online while the teacher's in front of the face-to-face students. Doesn't mean they won't ever use a computer, but it doesn't, I don't think this is an indication that they'll be in front of the computer for 8 hours a day, right?
Yes, Ms. Sleeper, yes. It won't be traditional teaching, what we're used to before COVID came. We will still need the electronic devices and use them in some capacity, even though the students are coming physically to the campuses. So parents, please, and this is in any of our schools, we will still utilize technology in the best way possible to deliver great instruction to your students.
Ms. Ortiz, 6th grade, no students will be at Indian Ridge effective the rest of this year. So all 6th graders will go from Indian Ridge to the Desert View campus if they're reporting for face-to-face instruction. Obviously, they can stay online with their existing Indian Ridge teacher. But if they come for face-to-face, they'll be at Desert View. I don't know, is there a swimming team today for Indian Ridge?
Swimming is one of the sports that we have in the spring. So yes, we do offer swimming, and we will have some athletes to compete for Indian Ridge. So the answer is yes.
Ms. Lori, yes, 21st Century will continue to be offered.
And just to clarify, Desert View does have advanced classes for all core subjects in 7th and 8th grade, and they even have advanced art as well.
Wonderful. 8th grade, where is it moving? So Indian Ridge, all Indian Ridge students who opt for face-to-face instruction are going to be on the Desert View site without exception. No one will remain at the Indian Ridge site. Indian Ridge teachers who are teaching remotely will be housed at Marion Manor, but that really has no effect on parents and students. Okay, let me back up because I got a bunch of questions. Let's see. Okay, so will 6th grade from all feeder schools go to Desert View next school year? That's a great question. It's still under review. Hopefully COVID will be a thing of the past and behind us, and we won't have to worry about any of its impacts again, and then we will evaluate. Right now, not all 6th graders from the feeder pattern go to middle school. So we will evaluate, and we will be sure to keep you in the loop. Yes, right now, our current safety protocols require students to wear a mask unless they have a medical accommodation granted that prevents them from wearing one. Yes, their desks and are spaced 6 feet apart. And I've been at lots of learning hubs this week, and I'm so proud of them. They know they put their arms out and they know exactly how to stay 6 feet apart from their peers, and they've done a beautiful job of it. So all of those protocols are in place and will be monitored throughout the year. Yes, there will be 7th and 8th grade students at Desert View. My son is in band. How is he supposed? So, I saw a really neat program that Fine Arts is using, and it's an electronic computer-based program that teaches piano skills remotely. I am not fluent enough. I play the piano, but I'm not fluent enough to talk about the program to tell you more, but I know that Mr. Thorson is familiar with it. I don't believe he's here in this meeting, but we will get you more details about piano. And I know that there is a piano lab moving to Desert View because we talked today about all that was needed for it. I saw this question, and I'm sorry, I didn't answer it early. So you have 3 options. You have hybrid face-to-face, which is Monday through Thursday with your child at home on Friday. Then you have full face-to-face, which is Monday through Friday at the campus. And then you have complete online, which is obviously exactly what it sounds like, every day online. So you have those 3 choices that will be available in the census tomorrow to check from. Okay, my screen jumped on me again. There it goes. If they choose to be online, will they have the same teachers? I'm going to assume that you are talking about an Indian Ridge student, and that's an easy one. Yes, they will have the same teacher. If they are an Indian Ridge student learning remotely today, they will have the same Indian Ridge teacher teaching them remotely in the future. Right, ladies? Yes, okay. As Mr. Huerta, as Dr. Kennedy reiterated a moment ago, we are an open enrollment district. You can enroll at any school that has vacancies and space for you. We welcome you. Now, Ms. Musick, I think, no, Indian Ridge is going to cease to exist as we know it. You're going to get a brand new Hanks Middle School on the Indian Ridge site. So when Indian Ridge is demolished and the new Hanks Middle School is ready in August of 22, all of the students from Desert View will move to the brand new Hanks Middle School. Yes, the breakfast pickup program is going to cease at Indian Ridge, but we will give you plenty of notice. Ms. Russell Garcia she may already know those dates, and she's about to, and there she goes.
Yes. So although it's going to cease at Indian Ridge, it will be available at any other Isleta campus. So you can actually select from the campus that is closest to your home.
Thank you, Ms. Russell Garcia. Okay.
There is a question from Ms. Martinez about her 6th grade student having to transfer to Desert View Middle School, and they do not. Remember, we are transporting all of the 6th grade at Indian Ridge to now go and sit at Desert View Middle School. So there's no need to transfer from the schools. All of 6th grade will be going to Desert View Middle School.
So how much time will the 6th graders be spending, or how long will they be staying at Desert View? They'll be there from now on, at least for this full school year. Indian Ridge Middle, volleyball and tennis opportunities. If they exist today, they will exist in the future. What we anticipate may very well happen is that the athletic teams may need to be combined because we don't have enough students to field teams. How is lunch going to happen? If you're talking about drive-through or pickup, as Ms. Russell Garcia said, any of our campuses are serving meals you can pick up at any campus. If you're talking about in the classroom, the intention is that all of our meals, much like the grab-and-go service, will be prepackaged, sealed up for the students to individually access, and then they generally will sit at their desks. If there's room in the cafeteria for them to spread out and maintain their social distancing, that's also possible. Do we know any other details yet, ladies, about how they may organize their lunches? We know they have tiered lunch periods that are, remember we talked about early on, they have different bell schedules and different student schedules. Those will continue. So if you're at Desert View, you have 3 lunch periods, or is it the other way around? Indian Ridge has 3 lunch periods. Desert View has 2. And I think, is it 1? Okay, and those will continue as they are. Okay. Is there going to be sports teams for Indian Ridge? It depends. Again, we have to see how many students are actively seeking to participate in the sports. Yes, different schedules for both schools. They will continue as they are. As the students started out this year, that's how they'll continue. Will the transfer affect the days of practice for sports? That's a great question. I don't know the answer. Do you know, ladies?
Will the transfer, excuse me, what was the question again?
Affect the days of practice for sports. So I'm assuming if Indian Ridge comes over and they normally practice Tuesday, Thursday, is there a conflict and so they have to redo their practice days? Or do we have that information yet?
No, we're barely starting our athletic schedule, Ms. Leeper. So we are going to provide both campuses a rotating schedule, and the coaches will be getting together next week to start looking at what that will look like.
Ms. Levi, if we reach capacity for face-to-face, will we be notified of space limitations? Yes, most definitely. Honestly, I don't believe the school will get there, but absolutely. If we have to bring in portables or do something like that, we would let you know. So what safety measures are in place once students return back to school? So we have innumerable safety measures in place. I mean, obviously the things about wearing a mask, using hand sanitizer, practicing social distancing, desk dividers being available on every student's desk, water fountains being unavailable. Students have to bring their own water bottles, bathrooms being controlled and monitored. They're not open during class schedule changes. We have many of those already in place and they're well documented. So if you go to Back to School Central on the Ysleta website, you will be able to see our entire plan, which is about 60 pages long, but it has great detail there if you're interested in the minute details of how we are managing the safety processes. And we comply with both the CDC, the Department of State Health Services, and the local health authority, or Dr. Ocaranza. I believe school does start at different times, and that's what we call the bell schedule. Does it not, ladies? It starts exactly the same time? Okay, so exactly the same time start and end, right? Just different intervals during the day.
Yes, ma'am. The periods are, but it does start at 8:30, and then it goes all the way to 4.
Thank you. Okay, could we create an FAQ? We will be creating an FAQ. We are capturing what's here as it's recorded, and then we will be summarizing additional questions and answers as we get them. I have a 5th grader now. Where will he go next year as a 6th grader? Again, that's up in the air. We will keep you informed. A lot of it depends on how many students and how far COVID gets behind us. So we will keep you apprised, and as we know more, we will share with you. How will the bus work? If we are providing transportation and you need it to Desert View, we will provide it for you to get from Indian Ridge to Desert View. Okay. Tryouts are happening soon. Yes, all students will be required to wear a mask all day, and except when they're eating, unless they have a medical accommodation, and when they're seated in their desk behind their desk dividers, they may take their masks off. The desk divider is clear in the front. It looks like a little mini TV screen, you know, so you can see their faces through it, but it's clear and it's plastic and they can't spread respiratory droplets. When it's all said and done and they move into the beautiful new Hanks Middle School, we have yet to decide, and that's up to the purview of the board, what happens to the Desert View Middle School site. But it will not be occupied once Hanks Middle opens. All the students will go to the new campus.
Ms. Leeper, there is a question about how kids will be monitored when they're dropped off in the morning, and at Desert View they will have personnel on hand to monitor all the students to make sure that all the safety protocols are being followed.
And you know what, Ms. Macias, since you're up, when one of the questions is, could you explain how the hybrid learning is going to work, please?
So the hybrid model is going to be the 4 days of instruction where the students would come to the campus and receive face-to-face instruction from their teachers, transitioning to each one of their periods. And then the hybrid model comes on Friday, where they are just receiving the asynchronous assignments. So it's really, they would come to the campus and they would get a list of assignments to complete for each period that they would complete at their own pace.
And there's a question about previous year class pictures. If those weren't picked up or delivered during the retrieval of school property and dissemination of student property that was left on campus after the spring, you probably need to reach out to administration and they should be able to help you locate your school pictures. Forced to wear masks. I'm going to say it again. Students must wear masks unless they have a medical accommodation, unless they are seated in their desk, in their seats with behind their screen divider, then yes, they must wear their masks. Will teachers be moving classes or the students be transitioning?
Yes, the students will be transitioning.
But I can tell you that just as they are transitioning or moving from, say, the school bus or from the cafeteria, I have watched them, and they are, even the very little ones, really understand social distancing. It's amazing to me, and they are abiding by it. So it's very quiet hallways, very quiet cafeterias. They do a great job of staying distant from each other.
And Desert View is already equipped with one-way hallways. Everything has been marked. All the social distancing and protection signage has been put up, so all the students will know how to safely walk through the hallways.
So what will be going on for the choir things? Again, if choir is currently offered at the two schools, and I believe it is, it will continue to be offered in the future. With regard to maybe you're talking about actual choir practice or things, I'm not sure, but I know that it's being worked out in as a part of this plan. Yes, you will be able to fill up your water bottles. So because water fountains are off, they are actually bagged closed. You can't access them. You must bring your own water bottle, and then you can refill it during the day at a water filling station.
There's a question about where do they pick up their child's lunch? If Indian Ridge is closed, you can pick up at any district campus that is closest to your home.
So I think we took care of the monitored. How are the kids monitored in the mornings? Can a 7th grade student opt for virtual learning for the time being, but at the end of this? Yes, absolutely. So every 9 weeks, you can change your mind. You can't do it in the 9-week period unless there's a crisis. But during the 9 weeks, I mean, at each 9-week period, you can change your mind and go from hybrid to remote to face-to-face all the time. You have that freedom throughout this year. I believe gymnastics is offered at Desert View because we spoke with the gymnastics coach who is excited about the fact that she'll be teaching at one campus instead of 3 now, right? Or one middle school and one high school campus. So yes. If I keep my child in homeschooling, so are you participating in remote instruction or are you withdrawing your child from school? I can't tell from the question. And if you want to reach out to us at Ask the District, we can give you more detailed information.
There is a question about how will students participate in physical education. And again, we are working to see how that will work when we come back face to face. Right now in the virtual setting, it's still going to be done virtually, but we want to make sure that we have a good system that we follow as far as following all the safety protocols when we do provide face-to-face physical education for your children.
Ms. Corbett, you're asking if students can take their mask off once behind their sectional. So yes, our rules state if a child is seated at their desk behind their desk divider, they can remove their mask. Think about they eat at their desks, and so they are free to take the mask off as long as they remain behind the desk divider. They can't get up and walk around without the mask, can't go to the restroom without the mask. But if they're at their desk behind the desk divider, they may take it off.
Ms. Lieber, Mr. Huerta asked a question about the new mascot and the colors. We'd like to roll that out in a very special way. So because we're technically not Hanks Middle School yet, maybe for the 2021-22 school year, we can roll that out to the community.
Wonderful. So I don't know what, Ms. Ortiz, do we have to do Desert View? I'm not sure if maybe you're talking about gymnastics, so I'll wait to see if another comment pops up. Where would Indian Ridge students be kept? So if Indian Ridge students are returning for face-to-face instruction, they will be at Desert View. If they're in the 6th grade, they will remain an Indian Ridge student. If they are in 7th or 8th grade, they will need to transfer to Desert View and become a Desert View student to receive face-to-face instruction. If you are remotely learning and you are an Indian Ridge student, you will remain an Indian Ridge student and remain remotely receiving a remote instruction from your original Indian Ridge teacher. The bus routes will be developed when we know what students are returning for face-to-face instruction.
There is a question from Ms. Lopez. If we choose hybrid, can we go less than 4 days? And no, that is the model that you are choosing, that you would go Monday through Thursday and then participate in the asynchronous assignments at home on Friday.
Ms. Ogaz, yes, we just briefly mentioned it, but as we learn how many students will be coming for face-to-face instruction, which is why it's so important that you complete the census that you'll receive tomorrow, and please do it by September 21st so we can make the best plans for your face-to-face instruction and your return to school, including developing transportation routes to accommodate you. Oops.
One of the questions, Mrs. Leeper, is what type of mask can the students utilize? I'm going to turn it over to you, but as a little precursor, we just have to make sure that any mask that they do bring is in accordance with our student code of conduct and socially appropriate.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So the only thing that we are not allowing is a bandana, actually, because it doesn't meet student code of conduct. So any non-medical grade mask, and we are actually going to provide at least one district branded mask for every student. So they will receive those when they arrive for face-to-face instruction. Okay, it jumped on me, so let me back up. Where are the Indian Ridge 6th grade teachers going to teach? At Desert View. We will create classroom spaces for them there, and they will have their face-to-face students that are 6th grade in their presence in the classroom, and they will teach remotely those students who remain at home. Do we have to go to Desert View? Ms. Ortiz, we want you to come anywhere in the Ysleta Independent School District. I know they would love to have you at Desert View, but if that's not where you want to be and we have capacity available somewhere else, we welcome you. Any school in the district, as Ms. Russell Garcia said, you can pick up meals. So any one of them. Is there a form for deciding if the child will go? Yes, absolutely. That's what we're talking about when we talk about the census that's going out. It's an online tool that you have to complete. You have to do it once for each child. It's unique to the child's student ID. So that's where you let us know whether they're coming face-to-face physically or whether they'll stay online. And it will be sent out tomorrow.
Yes, the letter will go out tomorrow. It will also have all the information that we've discussed this evening and the link to that census. Please fill it out.
Thank you. So where can we find the details? I'm not sure which details you're asking about, so I'll wait to see if it comes up. What if, for example, I forget my mask? Well, we hope you don't forget your mask very often because we don't have enough to supply one every day, but we will have spares on hand to provide one of the blue masks for a student who forgets theirs. I don't know what you mean, Ms. Ortiz, about can you explain how it's going to work? Can you give me more details? That's a great question. We'd love to have an open house and have you come see the campus. And I'll bet there are 2 administrators here who would love to coordinate that and make it happen. So I'm sure they'll be reaching out as we get closer to those dates. We have a lull. Does that mean we answered them all?
And again, parents, if we didn't get to answer your questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Dr. Kennedy, or of course the 2 fabulous administrators, Ms. Muela and Mr. Salgado. They'd be happy to help you understand the consolidation and to make the best decision possible for your child.
There is a video that is being requested to be shared as this short commercial break. Would now be an appropriate time for that,
would be
ladies?
great. Thank you. Okay, we do have a couple of more questions, but not too many. Is there an artist rendering of the new school campus? You just saw it, the interior. We will have new renderings of the exterior very soon, and we will be sharing those with you. Will sixth graders have an opportunity to tour Desert View? I think we might be able to make that possible. We will work with those administrators. I know they'd love to have you. And then what if you decide that face-to-face is not what you want for safety? Can they go back to online? Again, we ask that you stick with your choice for 9 weeks. And then if you want to make your option the opposite and stay home, you can. If your child gets sick or something like that, obviously we're going to work with you. We want what's best for them. Only 7th and 8th grade? No. 6th, 7th, or I'm sorry, I bet this is what you mean. Do 7th and 8th graders are the only ones that have to transfer into Desert View as a student? That's correct. Will there be screening of students for symptoms before they enter the campus? So interestingly, you can see the ladies nodding yes. What we will do is ask the student, do you have any of these symptoms? And we rely on them to tell us one way or the other. You are also affirming as their parent, and you'll see it in the census, that if you send them back for face-to-face instruction, you are affirming every day that you have screened them for symptoms and that they are symptom-free and that they have not had a temperature exceeding 100 degrees. When they arrive on campus, we are going to take their temperature and we're going to say, do you have any of these symptoms? If they have a temperature, they're immediately isolated. They go to an isolation room and you will be called to come and pick them up. If they say they have symptoms but no fever, we may call you and follow up because obviously we recognize sometimes they may not really understand what are those symptoms and how does that work. So we do have great protocols already developed. The campuses have already identified where their screening stations will be and how those will work. Hanks is going to be awesome. Who will be the principal? That's a great question. We don't know yet. The principals at Indian Ridge and at Desert View, Mr. Salgado and Ms. Muella, they will continue just like they are for the entire school year. So you will get to stay with your beloved principal for that entire year. What measures will be in place to make sure kids keep masks on? Well, I can tell you that I've watched teachers, substitutes, aides walking around, encouraging those babies, wrapping that loop back around their ear, showing them, especially little ones, we're teaching them new rituals and routines. But you have diligent teachers who love these kids and want them back in the classroom. So they're doing everything in their power to make sure that they are wearing their masks as they should and practicing good social distancing and using their hand sanitizer and washing their hands. When do they return to school? Well, we hope they return for face-to-face on October 19th, but you get to make that choice via the census that you're going to see tomorrow evening. Well, thank you, Ms. Simon. We appreciate that. I can tell you that the two ladies at the top of this screen have spent sleepless nights, 2 weeks worth at least, working on these plans for you. So kudos go to them. They've done a great job. And I know that they'll make it a beautiful experience for your students, whether they opt to remain online all year or we get to see them on October 19th. Okay, folks, we are at an hour and looks like the questions have slowed down. Let me reiterate, or if our broadcast journalists can put it up for us, the Ask the District, there it is. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us or send your questions to askthedistrict@yisd.net and we will get back to you. We will also be publishing the FAQs, and then keep in mind, as they just published again on the comments, please fill out the census. We want to know where you're going to be. We hope we'll get to see you face-to-face on October 19th, but we do need to know your choice. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a blessed evening.
Thank you, everyone.